Hello, I'm Jake, a 37 years old man whose life story has been marked by both profound love and devastating betrayal. My tumultuous journey with Leah, who is 30, is a roller coaster of emotions that I'm sharing in the hopes of offering some solace to those who have faced similar trials. It all began on a bustling day at a local street festival, where fate seemed to intertwine our paths in unexpected ways. Leah, with her captivating green eyes and radiant blonde hair, stood out amidst the crowd, drawing me in like a moth to a flame. Little did I know then that this seemingly chance encounter would alter the course of my life forever. Our initial conversations were lighthearted, revolving around Leah's recent transition to a physics professor at our local state college. Despite the stark differences in our personalities, there was an undeniable chemistry between us that transcended mere friendship. As we spent more time together, I found myself falling deeper and deeper in love with her, drawn to her intellect, wit, and undeniable charm. However, our budding connection was not without its complications. Leah was in a committed relationship with another man at the time, a fact that initially gave me pause. Yet, as she confided in me about the struggles she faced in her relationship, I couldn't help but feel a sense of empathy and understanding towards her plight. Gradually, our friendship evolved into something more intimate, as Leah sought solace and comfort in my company during tumultuous times. The lines between friendship and romance blurred, and before I knew it, Leah had ended her relationship with her boyfriend, citing irreconcilable differences. Naively, I interpreted this as a sign that our love was meant to be, and soon after, we embarked on a whirlwind romance that culminated in marriage. Our wedding day was a culmination of dreams and aspirations, a celebration of love and commitment. But little did I know then that behind the facade of wedded bliss lay a dark secret that would unravel the very fabric of our marriage. As the truth about Leah's infidelity came to light, my world came crashing down around me. The pain of betrayal cut deep, leaving me reeling in disbelief and heartache. Yet, amidst the wreckage of our shattered dreams, I found solace in sharing my story, hoping that it might serve as a beacon of hope for others navigating similar storms. Despite the scars left by betrayal, I remain hopeful that one day I'll find the strength to love again, to trust again, and to embrace the uncertainties of life with an open heart. For now, I take comfort in knowing that I'm not alone in my struggles, and that there is healing to be found in sharing our stories of love and loss. In the initial stages, our plans seemed flawless. However, roughly a year after exchanging vows, our idyllic vision was shattered by a harsh reality: Leah's inability to conceive. This revelation struck me deeply, adding another layer of sorrow to our marriage. We embarked on a thorough exploration of potential causes, undergoing numerous tests in search of answers. Despite our efforts, all results returned normal, leaving us both perplexed and disheartened. While Leah remained outwardly composed throughout this ordeal, I found myself consumed by a growing sense of unease. The dream of starting a family in our second year together had been a beacon of hope for me, and its failure weighed heavily on my heart, stirring up significant anxiety. In contrast, Leah seemed strangely unperturbed by our struggles to conceive, offering reassurances that our time would come when destiny deemed it so. At times, broaching the topic with Leah only seemed to elicit a dismissive response, leaving me feeling misunderstood and hesitant to push the issue further. Despite the deeply personal nature of our challenges, I recognized the importance of sharing these feelings as part of our story. Despite our inability to conceive, I remained steadfast in my commitment to our marriage, viewing it as an opportunity to deepen our bond and cherish the moments we shared together. However, as time passed, I couldn't shake the feeling of growing distance between us. Leah's seemingly encyclopedic knowledge of my colleagues and clients, acquired without my direct involvement, left me feeling as though we were leading increasingly separate lives despite our shared home and routines. I was well acquainted with the students in Leah's courses, their names, appearance, and even their challenges thanks to her sharing stories about her work. However, a shift occurred, and I'll explain how it unfolded. Suddenly, our usual conversations ceased, leaving me perplexed. I wondered what could have triggered such a change. Initially, I assumed it was just a rough patch for Leah, but what began as bad days stretched into weeks, then months. We found ourselves in a prolonged period of disconnection, yearning for the intimacy we once shared. Whenever I attempted to initiate a conversation, Leah either claimed she was preoccupied or deferred it to later, which never materialized. To compound matters, our physical intimacy dwindled too. I found myself pleading for even the simplest of gestures, yet she remained aloof, even withdrawing from our shared bed. Each rejection bruised my self-esteem and shattered my heart. It felt as though she was withholding the rights inherent to our marriage, seemingly avoiding the prospect of starting a family. Despite my profound love for her, I adopted a patient stance, hoping she would recognize how her actions were driving us apart and take steps to address it. However, my optimism waned as Leah continued to distance herself, eroding our relationship to the point where we became mere acquaintances harboring resentment towards each other. Our once vibrant conversations faltered, and we found ourselves in constant disagreement. Perhaps I should have probed deeper to understand the sudden shift, but blinded by love, my sole focus was salvaging our relationship. In a last-ditch effort, I offered a compromise, expressing my willingness to reconcile and reassuring Leah that our future together need not hinge on having children. Remarkably, my declaration seemed to uplift her momentarily. For a brief period, I noticed subtle changes in her demeanor as our connection tentatively revived, albeit with a hint of artificiality. While I welcomed the temporary respite from emotional distance, it dissipated as abruptly as it had appeared. A week later, she reverted to her cold and distant demeanor, revealing that the warmth and happiness she displayed were merely fleeting facades. This perpetual cycle of fluctuating emotions left me deeply disheartened. Its impact extended to all aspects of my life, affecting my performance and disrupting my ability to sleep peacefully. I often hear of couples cohabiting without meaningful communication for days, and I wonder how they manage it. In my case, the lack of communication significantly affected my mental well-being. While Leah appeared calm, returning home with cheerfulness, preparing her own meals, and then burying herself in books and her laptop for the evening, she retired to bed without a word when fatigue set in. The glaring disparity in our experiences left me feeling increasingly isolated and abandoned, exacerbating my sense of loneliness. As the third anniversary of our acquaintance approached, I resolved to instigate change by dedicating an entire week to celebration. I procured a special gift and arranged for us to dine at a newly opened upscale restaurant in the city. Eagerly, I made all necessary preparations, including booking a table. Throughout the day, I sent numerous reminders via text, desperately hoping she wouldn't forget our plans. However, the evening arrived, and she failed to show up. To my dismay, she didn't return home at all, leaving me devastated and forsaken. To my horror, Leah later explained her absence, attributing it to falling asleep at a colleague's place while working on a joint project. The devastating blow shattered my hopes, driving me to a breaking point. Drained emotionally and mentally exhausted, I couldn't endure the relentless shocks. Despite harboring suspicions of Leah's possible infidelity, I initially approached the situation with empathy, reluctant to confront the painful truth. However, the events of our anniversary week marked a turning point, compelling me to face the painful reality lurking beneath the surface. The mere thought of Leah, the woman I cherished, engaging in an affair with someone else left me utterly devastated. Overwhelmed by doubts and suspicions, I made the daunting decision to seek answers. Turning to the internet and enlisting the aid of a private investigator, I embarked on a quest to uncover the hidden truths about Leah's actions behind my back. As the investigator discreetly tracked her, I sought solace by re-entering the dating scene on nights when Leah was sound asleep. Contemplating various methods to unveil the truth, I considered accessing her phone using her fingerprint and meticulously scrutinized her digital footprint. However, to my astonishment, I found no evidence of betrayal, grappling with guilt for resorting to such measures in my relentless pursuit of truth. As the weekend passed, plagued by uncertainty, I resolved to confess my escalating paranoia to the detective and express my desire to halt the investigation. Yet, I chose to delay the conversation until Monday, knowing Leah spent most weekends at home. However, before I could broach the subject, the detective informed me that they had uncovered compelling evidence, leading them to believe. The shock of discovering the truth firsthand almost stopped my heart. Overwhelmed with anxiety, I embarked on the longest trip of my life, allowing me to sift through a whirlwind of thoughts. Meeting with the detective confirmed my worst fears. Leah was indeed attracted to another person. My heart shattered as I saw pictures of them together, hand in hand, exploring different places. Tears streamed down my face, a testament to my sensitive nature, as I grappled with the realization of Leah's betrayal. The situation was further exacerbated by the fact that the photos depicted their visit to a new restaurant I had booked to celebrate our anniversary, a celebration Leah never showed up for. Additionally, the images captured them in a passionate embrace in Leah's car, intensifying my anguish. The detective's findings unveiled even sadder details, including instances of Leah and her new companion staying overnight in hotels together. As the truth unraveled, it became apparent that the project Leah was actively participating in was none other than the man she held close. The revelation that her lover was much younger, likely around 20 years old, was a profound shock. Learning his name, Ryan, and realizing he was Leah's student, sent a wave of recognition through me, sinking my heart to unimaginable depths. Leah's frequent mentions of Ryan in our conversations, praising his intelligence and academic achievements, now took on a painful new meaning. The mix of heartache and anger overwhelmed me, leaving behind fragmented emotions. Over the past 3+ years, I had made countless sacrifices for Leah, making this betrayal even harder to comprehend. I had taken on the lion's share of household chores, cooking, cleaning, and grocery shopping, while Leah's only task was laundry on weekends. Financially, we had agreed on a 70-30 split, with the majority coming from my earnings. I firmly believed it fell upon me to shoulder more financial responsibility to support her, a decision motivated by a desire to alleviate her financial struggles, driven by an innate sense of duty to assist a loved one, as I had done with Leah. However, the most challenging aspect of our relationship was my mother's lack of support, despite her disapproval. Despite this, I chose to marry Leah, further complicating our dynamic. Looking back, I engaged a private detective to monitor Leah's actions. However, the provided photographs failed to satisfy my need for concrete evidence, prompting me to seek more accurate proof. My determination to catch them in the act only intensified. Upon returning home, my wounded heart longed for Leah's presence, yet I resisted the urge, enveloped in a silence that concealed the depth of my pain. Driven by a surge of emotions, I felt an urgent need to leave the confines of our fractured love. Fearful of succumbing to anger and acting impulsively, I hastily gathered a few belongings. In the midst of this chaos, I stumbled upon an object that shattered what little remained of my love: birth control pills. Their presence extinguished any lingering hope, leaving me bewildered. Initially, I considered our unsuccessful attempts to conceive, but it dawned on me painfully that Leah had been secretly taking birth control pills, unknowingly thwarting our chances of starting a family. The truth hit me like an unstoppable wave, obliterating what little hope I had left. Leah was the reason behind our infertility, her deceitful actions causing me to question our fertility while she knowingly took birth control pills. The weight of this revelation bore down on me heavier than the knowledge of her affair with a younger man. Consumed by sadness, I clutched the birth control pills, tears streaming down my face as I struggled to comprehend her betrayal. Summoning what strength I had left, I made the decision to leave the house without a word to Leah, informing her that I was visiting my mother and would return on the weekend. It was a ruse, a carefully orchestrated plan to confront her. Seeking solace and clarity amidst my turmoil, I retreated to a hotel, craving refuge from the storm raging within. The next day, my private detective delivered vital information. Leah and her lover were en route to my house. It was the moment I had been anticipating, awash with emotions ranging from anger to betrayal. Inspired by dramatic confrontations seen in videos, I resolved to stage a showdown with Leah. Hiring a videographer to discreetly capture every detail, we arrived at my house just after Leah and Ryan. With emotions running high, I waited for them to enter before making my move. After a tense wait, I entered the house with the videographer, the soft music in the living room masking our approach. Anticipation and anger churned inside me as we neared the bedroom door. Without hesitation, I burst in, shattering the illusion of secrecy surrounding their betrayal. Amidst the chaos, I directed the videographer to capture every detail. The sight of Leah and Ryan together in bed fueled my anger, prompting them to hastily gather their clothes and flee. With Leah's screams echoing behind us, I forcibly escorted her out of the house, leaving her partner to make a swift exit. The scene was chaotic, filled with violent emotions, as Leah's cries drew neighbors out of their homes. In that moment, she realized the gravity of her actions and fled in her car, leaving behind a trail of consequences. Without hesitation, I took action, sending incriminating evidence to the college where Leah worked, determined to hold her accountable for her betrayal. Inspired by the courage of others, I refused to let her actions go unpunished. Anticipating the inevitable, the events unfolded precisely as expected in the subsequent week. Leah faced the repercussions of her actions, resulting in her dismissal from the college where she worked. Exposed by the revelations, Leah's expulsion from the institution dashed her future prospects. Despite receiving threatening messages, my focus remained on terminating the toxic relationship and initiating the divorce proceedings. My sole desire was to sever ties with her permanently. Upon returning to our house to gather her belongings, Leah's whereabouts became a mystery to me. In the aftermath of our encounter, I spent the remainder of the week scouting for divorce attorneys in our vicinity, preparing for the impending legal battle. It became apparent that dissolution of the marriage was the only viable path forward to reclaiming my life. After an extensive search, I identified a suitable divorce lawyer and promptly arranged a meeting to strategize the next steps. With a firm resolve, I proceeded with the divorce process. A few days later, I confronted Leah, serving her with the divorce papers to formalize the end of our union. Her reaction was unexpected. In response to my decision, Leah displayed shock, followed by laughter, dismissing the significance of our marriage. Instead of acknowledging the reality, she arrogantly claimed that marrying me was an act of charity, asserting her intellectual superiority. Though deeply wounded by her callous remarks, I masked my inner turmoil with a smile, concealing the extent of her hurtful words. Witnessing this unfamiliar facet of Leah, a lack of remorse and empathy deeply perturbed me. Moreover, her brazen belittling and boastfulness about our relationship left me outraged. She audaciously predicted my return, insinuating my inability to function without her. Rather than sign the divorce papers, she snatched them from my grasp, declaring she was granting me time to reconsider. With a mix of emotions, I watched her depart, leaving me to grapple with the aftermath of her heartless words and actions. After discovering Leah's secret use of birth control pills without informing me, I kept this conclusion to myself, hoping she would admit her dismissal from her job for crossing ethical boundaries. Surprisingly, she remained silent, focusing instead on persuading me to reconsider. Months passed with her persistent appeals until Leah reluctantly signed the divorce papers, officially ending our marriage. Little did I know, this was just a small part of our tumultuous story. In our initial meeting to sign the divorce papers, Leah projected strength, asserting her self-importance. However, post-divorce, she underwent a dramatic change, bombarding my phone and social media with messages. Despite my efforts to block her number and sever online ties, her persistence persisted. Weeks later, Leah showed up at my doorstep, her face streaked with tears, overwhelmed by a flood of emotions. Seeing me, she collapsed to her knees, tears streaming down her face as she begged for forgiveness. She promised to change beyond recognition, sharing her hardships without me, claiming she had nowhere else to turn and faced the risk of losing her car due to repossession. Having lost her job and tarnished her reputation, finding work elsewhere was increasingly challenging for her. My heart broke as I witnessed her vulnerable state, listening to her desperate pleas. Despite the pain I caused her, I couldn't ignore her suffering, challenging my resolve and forcing me to confront the complexities of forgiveness and compassion. When I saw Leah standing before me, anger surged within me once again. She had squandered all her savings on her young student boyfriend, treating him to lavish dinners and dressing him in luxurious clothes. Now, she stood before me penniless and desperate. Instinctively, I slammed the door shut, cutting her out of my life. But she persisted, pushing her way forward. When her initial pleas fell on deaf ears, she played another card. With a deep breath, she confessed she had something to tell me. Intrigued yet wary, I reluctantly allowed her to speak. As she began to speak, the unpleasant truth emerged. She had been taking birth control pills throughout the 2 years we were trying to conceive a child. This revelation shocked me and sparked disbelief, mingled with the lingering rage inside. Leah confessed to using birth control pills because she wasn't ready for motherhood back then. However, she now insisted she was prepared and promised to try her best to conceive if I returned. She painted a future with the happy, united family I'd always dreamed of. Despite my doubts, I allowed her to explain further, carefully considering her request. When she finished, I calmly informed her that I was already aware of the birth control pills, capturing a mix of surprise and realization on her face as I looked directly into Leah's eyes. I bared my soul, expressing the complex emotions swirling within me. Forgiving Leah's betrayal seemed like a monumental task, especially considering the profound sense of betrayal and humiliation I felt. Despite my fervent prayers for a resolution and my relentless efforts to salvage what was left of our relationship, Leah chose to remain silent, subjecting me to a relentless barrage of emotional torment. It was a bitter pill to swallow, realizing that what I believed was a shared commitment to our relationship was nothing more than a facade. Looking back, I couldn't help but acknowledge my own role in this ordeal. I had ignored the warning signs, brushing off my suspicions as mere paranoia. In hindsight, I should have been more vigilant, more attuned to the subtle shifts in Leah's behavior. With a heavy heart, I mustered the courage to confront Leah, demanding that she vacate my space and warning her of the potential legal consequences should she dare to intrude further. That encounter marked the definitive end of our tumultuous relationship. In the aftermath, I found myself grappling with an overwhelming sense of loss and betrayal. Despite my fervent hopes that time would heal these wounds, the pain lingered, festering beneath the surface. While the desire for retribution simmered within me, I soon realized that no amount of vengeance could erase the deep-seated hurt I felt. As the years passed, I found solace in the arms of another. I remarried, finding happiness and fulfillment in a new partnership. My wife and I welcomed two beautiful children into our lives, embodying the dream of a harmonious family that had once seemed so out of reach. Meanwhile, Leah's life took a different turn. Despite her past accomplishments, she found herself adrift, her romantic endeavors faltering, and her career taking an unexpected turn. It was a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of life and the importance of resilience in the face of adversity. Today, I stand firm in my convictions, grateful for the lessons learned and the newfound happiness that fills my life. As for Leah, I harbor no ill will towards her. Instead, I choose to focus on the blessings that surround me, cherishing the love and companionship that define my present reality. Mark recently joined Lisa's company and was thrilled about his upcoming retreat. We've been friends since high school, so I trusted him implicitly. A few days before the retreat, we met for drinks, and he shared his excitement about being part of the company getaway. We joked about him being my inside man, keeping an eye on Lisa to ensure she didn't have too much fun without me. The retreat lasted 3 days, and on the second day, Mark called me hesitantly. He mentioned seeing Lisa spending a lot of time with her boss, Liam, which struck me as odd. I initially brushed it off as work-related, but Mark insisted they seemed too close, often disappearing for hours with an air of secrecy. Curiosity got the best of me, so I decided to surprise Lisa at the resort the next day, coordinating with Mark for updates. Approaching the private beach, I found Lisa and Liam sitting closely, their hands intertwined in a moment of intimacy. It was a devastating blow. I approached them, trying to maintain my composure. Lisa's face turned pale, and Liam looked equally taken aback. Without causing a scene, I asked Lisa to join me for a walk. The air was heavy with tension as we walked in silence, until finally, Lisa spoke. She emphasized that nothing physical had occurred, but she admitted to developing deep emotional connections with Liam. The retreat ended, and so did our relationship. The trust was shattered, and although there was no physical infidelity, the emotional betrayal cut just as deep. In the following months, Lisa moved out, and we both embarked on our journeys of healing. Our friends were shocked, and Mark felt guilty for sharing the news, but I was grateful. It was better to know the truth than to live in ignorance. As weeks turned into months, the pain lessened, replaced by a numb acceptance. I threw myself into work and reconnected with old hobbies to fill the void. One evening, while cleaning a shared storage unit, I stumbled upon a box of Lisa's old journals and letters. Out of curiosity or perhaps a need for closure, I began to sift through them. I decided to take a peek into Lisa's old journals, flipping through the pages. I discovered entries from our early days together, revealing hints of doubts and insecurities Lisa had never voiced. One specific entry caught my attention. It was from a time when Lisa and I briefly broke up in our third year together. Lisa wrote about meeting someone during that period, someone she felt a deep connection with but decided not to pursue due to our reconciliation. The person she mentioned was Liam. The realization hit me strongly. Their connection wasn't recent. It had roots going back years. The emotional bond they shared during the retreat wasn't just a fleeting moment, it was a rekindling of past emotions. I experienced a mix of emotions: anger, betrayal, sadness, and confusion. Was our entire relationship a deception? Did she always have feelings for Liam? Why didn't she mention this before? I reached out to Mark, my pillar of support throughout this ordeal. Over a drink, I shared my discovery. Mark, always the voice of reason, suggested that perhaps Lisa herself hadn't fully understood her feelings for Liam until they reconnected at the retreat. He reminded me that relationships are intricate, and people often grapple with emotions they don't completely understand. Now, I'm at a crossroads. Part of me wants to confront Lisa, seeking answers and closure. Another part wonders if it's better to leave the past behind and move forward. But, remember, sometimes the past should remain buried. If you seek closure, confronting her might help, but if you're aiming to move on, it might be best to let it go. It's just challenging to decide: do I dig deeper, risking opening old wounds, or do I try to find peace with the unknown? What would you do in my shoes? Relationships are never clear-cut. They're a complex mix of emotions, decisions, and moments that shape us. The pain of betrayal, whether emotional or physical, leaves lasting scars that are difficult to heal.